There's video of him burning Turkish flags at Golden Dawn rallies.
Of course.
He's advocated for the use of deadly violence against illegal immigration. He wants to shoot people on the spot. He's openly said it.
This is our approach. Whoever is granted asylum in Greece will no longer live on subsidies at the expense of European or Greek taxpayers.
I think it's important for us to understand who is in charge of these systems.
Humanitarian Watch Season 5, and we're back. And what can we be back with?
Can we talk about Greece, please, please, please?
Obviously, we have to talk about Greece.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Shall we start from before the summer?
Yeah, do you want to give a little context as to where the hell we are?
Sure, a very set context. So mid-July, and the government decides that they're going to stop asylum claims for refugees who are coming from Africa via boats, right? So only boat refugees. And if people are coming, they are being taken to a detention center, and they do not have a right to claim asylum. This has been met with outrage, of course, from different organizations. The claim was made to the European Commission, and this law was introduced basically for 3 months. With a possibility of prolonging. However, because there was so much discussion about this, and it is so much against international human rights law, international asylum law, it was not officially prolonged, yet nothing is really changing in this area. It was supposed to end basically mid-October, but not much is really changing. Some people are still in detention centers.
Yeah, I remember when they first announced this, everyone got all confused because it made it sound as if they were saying no Africans allowed. Mm-hmm. But that's not actually true. It was that anyone coming to Greece via Africa, specifically from Libya to Crete, they were the ones who were being detained. And the government, this country, I don't know if that's because they're sailors and fishermen and what, but historically, everything's got to do with water, with their language. Tsunami, tidal wave, the whole world's going to end because so many people are just going to crash the shores of these spaces. And that is just straight up bullshit.
The fact that it was Crete was not without reason, right? More people came to Crete, that's true. You brought some numbers, 15,000, right? Since the beginning of the year.
Well, there's a total of 15,000 since 2025, this year, as the UNHCR reports. But at the time when they decided to say, the world is ending, 4,500 people had arrived total in the year. Oh, so that's in like half a year, right? And, we're not really talking about a tsunami here with 4,500 people. Yeah. That's just ridiculous language.
However, I have to give it to those small communities because they are really not very well prepared for additional people to come, people who are not tourists and cannot pay for their accommodation and services and so on. So it is probably true that Crete was not prepared really for this number of people, and some of them were taken to the mainland, some weren't, but the fact that the prime minister is from Crete, that's also an important information here, right?
Yeah, but I think it really kind of cuts back to the heart of that. We could talk a little bit about how Greece is basically copying Poland, and that's in reverse because Poland has basically copied Greece for the last couple of years and what they do when people are arriving on their borders. But, this is not legal. This is straight up criminal, international violations of human rights law. They keep claiming that they're following human rights law, but they're not. They're doing the opposite of that. You have a right to asylum, and we talked about this in previous episodes, that upon arrival, every human being internationally has a right to arrive in another country and have their case heard. They can claim asylum. That doesn't mean they get asylum. It doesn't mean they have refugee status. It means they have a right to be heard. Yeah. Well, you don't get a right to be heard if you're immediately chucked into a prison and called a criminal. Exactly. So this is the problem.
Yeah. And now the conditions in those camps are getting worse and worse. The camps from far away look pretty okay. White containers, it gives you this vibe. It's clean and nice. But inside, we've seen pictures that show really conditions that no person should live in in most of them, not all of them. That's important to say. And now it's going to get worse because the government decided to cut costs, cut spendings on asylum seekers. And the cut is pretty big because it's by 30%, so from 400 million euros to 288 million euros through this whole restructuring of benefits system. The government signed also an agreement with Greece's Growth Fund, and it's being translated differently depending on media. But this organization is supposed to take over the provision of services to refugees and asylum seekers in Greece. And this is a government connected fund, which means there will be no real help me with the word.
The watchdogs have been put to rest.
Yes, thank you very much.
They're put down. They're asleep because they've taken all of the ability of the independent monitors out. If you have a state-controlled corporation being in charge of food and all sorts of services, mental health, medical, food distribution, transportation in and out of these camps, which no one's allowed to go into. Journalists are not allowed to go into without permission, express written permission from the government. And now you're going to pressure and have a chilling effect on all NGOs that are working inside these camps to say that they're not allowed to even go out on social media and talk about or share real archival footage of what's really happening. They did that by a decree in the government over the summer and early September as well. That. So they basically made it illegal for anybody who's inside those spaces doing important first response work to even mention what they see. So suddenly everyone has an NDA. Like, what? This is bullshit. Like, you can't say, if you want to continue to work in here, if you want to continue to have operations, you can't say what's really happening. You have to basically lie to the world about what's really going on. You cannot challenge their narrative. If you do, the registration for your NGO is killed immediately, within a day. I wonder where they're getting this type of logic from. I wonder how they're...
Well, it's not the first time. They kicked out many NGOs from inside camps, providing services inside camps back in the days on the islands. It's not a new thing, right?
Oh, back in the day when there were still government contractors in charge of the worms that would go in the food. Yeah, those people. If you create a state-sponsored system of delivering everything, and you take total control over the cash assistance or kill the cash assistance for months at a time, if not permanently, and then you take away all the watchdogs and you make it illegal to report even on social media what you're doing, that's just ripe for corruption. That I really am scared about what's going to happen to the people who are actively seeking asylum now.
Yeah, and the next step, basically, for people who finally get asylum and leave the camp is also extremely difficult. Because right now, you have one week, exactly, from the moment you receive the decision about your asylum to the moment you have to leave the camp. And there's no mercy, there's no exception there. It's exactly 1 week and you're being kicked out of the camp. And you're completely on your own, without any integration while you're waiting for your asylum, without any extra knowledge what you should do, how the system works here, and so on. And now the big news come that the Helios program will cut all the support for the housing system. And I think this will make a tremendous change for people.
I think, if we actually polled everybody who's around us right now doing all the work of recording this episode, and we told them that Greece is going to invest deeply into integration services and language services, I think maybe if they were trying to be quiet right now, they would be laughing their asses off, because in the years that we've been doing things here, we've never really seen any of these types of things. And I think we've been joking around about how integration must have been a dirty word in the government and in society here, much like timoloyo is the dirty word in our relationship, because we can never get a Greek invoice, right, for anything that we are rightfully paying for. Yeah. But this just feels like a ridiculous bait and switch scenario.
Exactly. And if I may just quote the Minister of Migration, how they are selling this. So, first of all, the main rule is that Helios program will no longer subsidize housing. So how it was till now, when you finally got your asylum, you could register for the Helios program and you would get some classes, but predominantly you would get the possibility of getting subsidies for your housing for 6 months. At the beginning, the program worked this way, that you had to find a landlord that would just rent out this place, the apartment for you, and then the government, the Helios program, would sign the contract with this person and pay the rent. Then later on, because it was so difficult to really get somebody to rent it out to you as a refugee, suddenly good change came, and now the Helios program was responsible for finding those apartments, putting new refugees there. And this was a change that just happened a few months ago, and now suddenly it's gone. They decided that everything, all the money that went into housing will go into integration. And I just want to really quote the press release, how it really looks like, right? So what the Minister of Migration says. This is our approach. Whoever is granted asylum in Greece will no longer live on subsidies at the expense of European or Greek taxpayers. They will be given the opportunity to work. Therefore, homes currently located in the center of Athens will be released onto the market. So you see that how they really cleverly constructed this message. You're saying they will no longer live on taxpayers, European taxpayers or Greek taxpayers, as if this is happening, as if people who get asylum they are not getting this any support, nothing. Helios program was getting subsidies for housing for like several months and for so few. It was not a massive program. It was really not meeting the needs at all. And it brings this rhetoric that makes people believe that now everything will change because those refugees will not get the money now, the money will go to us and so on. And it also makes you believe that now those who will not work in Greece, if you're a refugee and you don't work, that means you don't want to work because the government gives you the possibility to work. It should go into integration and the training for the labor market.
Yeah, but they don't specify what jobs. They don't specify.
With this crisis, it's not that easy.
No, but
there are so many factors into it.
But they also really do not clarify any. This is another big headline-y type statement to make, and they automatically imply that the people are somehow now not going to get away with a crime. They've been siphoning the money off of the Greek taxpayer, which is not true. They've always been spreading these lies about how much money people get. They manipulate this message for years, and now it's just embedded in everyone's assumption that anyone who's come to this country somehow is sucking the country dry, and is the complete opposite. And then the irony here is that at the same time that they're making this announcement about integration and how they want to, block all these other people from arriving and end asylum, they're also doing a very, very hard push to fund a program to bring in migrant labor. They need 200,000 jobs to fill the migrant labor need. And they're going to try to go outside the borders to find all these people. And if you just looked at the UNHCR numbers, you would see that there's just under 120,000 refugees currently hosted in the country. I guarantee you at least 75% of them need a job. And there's about 30,000 people in the UNHCR 2024 report that were waiting an asylum decision. And there's about another 40,000 people currently waiting to get an answer about their asylum. So there's your 200 right there. Solve your own problem inside your own borders right now. Give everyone a job. Teach them Greek. Give them a job. That's what they want. You can solve all the problems in one fell swoop instead of spending a whole lot of time lying and manipulating everyone's public opinion to believe that you're somehow saving Greece for Greeks. It's bullshit.
I want to defend the government in one area only.
Stop defending them.
I know. We have to try to be balanced here, right?
Not always.
This new law about also making it easier for certain categories of people to enter Greece, get residency, and so on, makes the residency permits process a bit easier, hopefully for everybody, because we know right now it's a pain to really get your residency renewed. And now, when this law enters into force, the residency permits will be will be renewed beyond your regular location. It means you no longer have to go to this one specific office that you always had to go because this is where your address is. You can go to whichever office, wherever the lines are smaller. And maybe it can speed up and make the process smoother for everybody. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. I know plenty of people here in our community and plenty of others who have been waiting years just to get their rightful asylum cards renewed. They hand it in time, and then 9 months, 10 months, 2 years waiting. They can't travel. They can't move around freely, even though they have the legal right to. They can't work on a project with us in another country because they don't have a document that lets them even get on a plane or even a ferry to go to another island. It's insane. And then they need to buy a lawyer. They need to hire a lawyer so that they can get a card back. It's insane. So I'm not holding my breath. Sorry.
You personally.
I know which side of the argument. Yeah, I have no faith here. None.
Okay.
But the reason why I have no faith is because who's in charge? I mean, the people who are in charge of the system are even worse than they were before. We've really gone through a ramping up. I'd say that since the re-election campaign for the current government, the New Democracy government, they've just gotten harder and harder, and they have this mandate. And, you know, in some ways, that political reality, they really, really won that election, that re-election campaign. That was embarrassing. And we talk about what's going on in America and how everyone freaked out that the Democrats got destroyed, or you saw how close the elections were in Poland. The election in America was like a nail-biting down to percentage points.
Yeah.
But, you know, Nea Demokratia won by like 80 to 20.
Yeah,
it was like really crazy. So then they were like, mandate, let's go. And they went nuts. And they've just really ramped it up to the point where the people in charge are pretty mean. They're just mean people. I mean, it's kind of funny. Maybe they picked him on purpose because his first name is Thanos, because he's, you know, the big mean bad guy in Marvel Universe. But this guy, really, really not a nice camper.
I think
the things he says and the things he does are pretty.
He's just a very far right guy, right? And he has extremely strong beliefs, and he's pushing for them. He got to be in the government right now, and he's pushing for as much as he can for his constituency, for people who believe in the same ideas.
Yeah, those things are illegal that he's pushing for. The things that he's been standing for a long time are pretty illegal, and they flout all international laws, all the covenants that the country of Greece has signed on to. So, you know, you can say whatever you want, but at some point or another, I think one of the reasons why this current suspension of asylum will be like softly pushed down and won't be so aggressively implemented further is because there are court injunctions. There are, you know, all sorts of judges all over the country who have been basically calling it illegal. There are legal cases on international levels that are calling it illegal. And so at some point or another, they do have to go down the legal route to defend themselves, and then they will lose all those cases, as they consistently do. But
and so what?
For years, people are impacted by that. And at the same time, we have some crazy stuff that we can discuss. But the one that you wanted me to reference earlier was the most recent letter.
Oh, yeah. Please.
Right.
Please
so
do.
Here's Thanos Plevris, the new migration minister. And he wrote a personal message to all of the people in the country who are seeking asylum or who are currently in some sort of a procedure. And here, I'm not paraphrasing. If you are not a refugee and are not entitled to protection, then you need to get the fuck out of the country. No, I'm kidding. That's not actually what he said, but it's kind of what he said. If you are not a refugee and are not entitled to protection, then you have entered and are remaining in this country illegally. In which case, A, your application will be rejected. B, you will be placed in administrative detention for up to 24 months. C, you will be committing a serious criminal offense for which you will be convicted and serve a prison sentence of 2 to 5 years. The only way to avoid these adverse consequences is to leave Greece voluntarily and return to your home country. And the best time to decide to do that is now.
Of course. That's a really scary message.
The fuck?
Yeah. It also, so this is all playing into the image of the Minister of Migration being this like fair, sheriff in this town, and
He's a
he will
pit bull.
just like send this message to everybody, like, be afraid, be scared, and like, but this is also a message to regular Greeks that he's organizing this situation here. There are so many illegals, and I will already scare them away. Like, look what I'm doing, right?
Remember those numbers, right? 117,000 in the country, 28,000 seeking asylum. Not a tsunami, not an avalanche, not a earth-shattering, destructive force that's going to ruin the world. It's not, it's not what they say it is. But you know, the other side of this is just like, it's just dirty. It's just mean.
It's illegal.
It's mean-spirited.
You know,
it's
it's
dirty.
just that's called what it is. It's illegal. Most of it.
This guy, I mean, this is actually what you would expect him to say. But the idea that everybody who's actively in the country right now who is just trying to get their case heard, they're not a criminal. They have an international right to be here to request that. They are not a criminal. The people who are criminals are the ones who are breaking the law, and they just happen to be the ones in charge of the law. So turn it back around, stop gaslighting the world, and do your job.
Is this it?
No.
Is this our conclusion?
I don't know. I think at some point or another, you probably want to ask me some crazy things that I've heard this guy say, because he's a motherfucker.
You like quoting this, and I am really not sure if we should spread those horrible quotes of his.
I don't know. You kind of think you need to know who he is, like, and what he stands for and what he's done.
We know that he had some contacts to really like strong far right groups, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you go back, you know how like if you do anything wrong now and someone will just dig into your past on social media, if you tweeted something the wrong way or did anything, and that's the end of you, you're like canceled, you know. But like this guy, there's video of him burning Turkish flags at Golden Dawn rallies.
Of course.
He's advocated for the use of deadly violence against illegal immigration. He wants to shoot people on the spot. He's openly said it. He advocates for no food, no water, no shelter to stop people from coming to Greece. So he kind of would be totally down with the Israeli government with their Gaza siege. He would basically say, no, cut it all off, and then problem will be solved, just because people will know that they won't get anything, so therefore no one will come. He's delusional to think that that's actually what will happen. He got kicked out of Libya. He's persona non grata in Libya because he went to a migration meeting, but he met with the rival National Unity government. So they didn't like that. So he's persona non grata in Libya. I mean, jeez. And, you know, back when he's a lawyer before, but when he was a lawyer, he represented the 8 police officers that killed Zaki O, which is like this really famous case of, you know, like the person who doesn't identify as a man or a woman, who was a performer in drag, and this person was brutally murdered. And he represented the police officers who murdered this person, who murdered Zaki O. So two men were found guilty in that case, but not the cops.
Of course.
So I think it's important for us to understand who's in charge of these systems, because if that's who's in charge, what do we expect?
Well, definitely not an improvement of situation for refugees here.
So when's the next update on Greece?
Yeah,
Next
probably every week, right?
Okay.
Thank you very much. This is it for today, and Humanitarian Watch is every 2 weeks on Fractured. Stay tuned.
Peace.